I once dared to question why America always seems to have money for war, but never enough for healthcare, clean water, or, I don't know, Malian cotton farmers. And I kid you not, someone told me, "You're anti-America." And I was like, wow, when did common sense become treason? I mean, try saying, "I think income tax shouldn't be higher than corporate tax," and just watch people start looking at you like you're auditioning for a tinfoil hat commercial. And if you're African, oh dear, you better prepare for insults from your own people who dream of America the way toddlers dream of Disneyland. All shine, no scrutiny.
He's crazy.
So when I picked up a book written by a former American president, I didn't expect much. Maybe a little sanitized memoir, some Sunday school storytelling, and lots of flag waving. What I didn't expect was truth bombs, moral clarity, and yes, even stats. This isn't just any book review. This is about the book that told me, no, you're not mad, naive, or anti-anything. You just want the world to stop being run by corporations, cabals, and hypocrites. Let's talk about Jimmy Carter's Our Endangered Values. From page 1, Jimmy Carter, the 39th President of the United States, sets a tone that's, well, honestly refreshing. Not because he agrees with popular opinion, but because he doesn't. He writes with the confidence of someone who has been to the top, seen the inner workings, and decided to tell the rest of us that yes, something is deeply wrong. Let's start with religion. Carter calls out the rising tide of religious fundamentalism, not just in America, but globally. But in the United States, it's become a political engine, turning certain Christian leaders into policy influencers. On page 34, he writes,
"Almost invariably, fundamentalist movements are led by authoritarian males who consider themselves to be superior to others and, within religious groups, have an overwhelming commitment to subjugate women and to dominate their fellow believers."
He points out how they argue against abortion, but support the death penalty. "Thou shalt not kill," he reminds us. Yet somehow that gets revised depending on political convenience. He criticizes the selective morality of these groups, especially when they support divorce but vehemently oppose homosexuality. His solution, a separation? Let the state offer civil unions and let churches do holy matrimony. Brilliant, balanced, respectful. Then comes the meat of the matter, America's foreign policy. Carter drops names, not gossip, facts. He quotes then UN Ambassador John Bolton, who said,
"It is a big mistake for us to grant any validity to international law, even when it may seem in our short-term interest to do so. The United Nations is valuable only when it directly serves the United States."
Now, if that's not the diplomatic equivalent of my ball, my rules, I don't know what is. Carter doesn't stop there. He calls out the lies that led to the Iraq War, particularly how Dick Cheney and Condoleezza Rice manipulated public opinion with emotion and graphic imagery. Over 100,000 Iraqi civilians, non-combatants, died as a result by 2005. On page 122, he gives the chilling account of Major General Abed Hamid Mohaush, who tried to find his sons only to be
detained, tortured, and stuffed inside a green sleeping bag where he died from trauma and suffocation.
Then there's Abu Ghraib.
"The techniques of torture are almost indescribably terrible," Carter writes. One United States ambassador reported partial boiling of a hand or an arm with 2 people boiled to death.
And these weren't isolated cases. Carter reminds us,
Military officials reported that at least 108 prisoners have died in American custody, with homicide acknowledged as the cause of death in at least 28 cases.
Let's not forget the children. Yes, children.
After visiting 6 of the 25 or so United States prisons, the International Committee of the Red Cross reported registering 107 detainees under 18, some as young as 8 years old.
One boy, nearly 12, begged to see his mother. The Pentagon's response?
Age is not a determining factor in detention.
That's when it hit me. When Carter said the war in Iraq is serving as a recruitment ground for al-Qaeda, he wasn't just theorizing, he was warning. Carter wasn't done. He turned his microscope on economic injustice, both domestic and global. He writes that while the U.S. was boasting of helping African nations with HIV treatment, in Botswana, the actual American contribution was zero. The aid? Fabricated. He quotes Jeffrey Sachs.
Annual U.S. aid for sub-Saharan Africa was about $3 billion in 2003, of which only $118 million was left for in-country operations.
That's 5%. The rest went to surprise American consulting firms. Then there's the matter of cotton subsidies. While Malian farmers work sun-up to sundown, U.S. farmers get government handouts that slash their costs, flooding the market and tanking world prices. The result? Malian farmers starve. On inequality, Carter lays the data bare. While the rich feast, the poor shrink.
For every dollar in reductions for a middle-class family, the top 1% of households will receive $54. Corporate CEOs now earn 400 times the average worker's pay. Meanwhile, real wages for workers actually fell in 2004.
Even the prison population is a mark of America's moral crisis. 7 out of every 1,000 Americans are incarcerated, more than the all-time Soviet record. At this point, you might be asking, what is this book? Who wrote this? Because honestly, it doesn't sound like a comfortable read. It's not. And that's why it's so powerful. The book is Our Endangered Values: America's Moral Crisis, published in 2005 by Simon & Schuster, written by Jimmy Carter. Yes, that Jimmy Carter, former U.S. president, Nobel Peace Prize winner, peanut farmer turned statesman, and probably the most morally conscious president the U.S. has ever had. Now, I must confess, reading this as a non-American, I felt seen. It's not every day you find someone from within the very halls of power pointing a spotlight at the rot. Carter's honesty is sobering and rare. He affirms what many in the global South have long suspected, that American foreign policy, especially post 9/11, has often been shaped not by morality, but by self-interest, fear, and fundamentalism. So the themes in this book are, well, honestly, they're bold. You have religious fundamentalism being used as a political weapon, moral hypocrisy, and imperial double standards. There's also global economic injustice, this preference for militarism over diplomacy and, corporate power taking precedence over democracy. And the structure of the book is just brilliant. Each chapter really stands on its own, but together, they weave a portrait of a nation at war with its values. More importantly, Carter doesn't just offer empty outrage. He actually provides facts, quotes, and figures. He speaks as someone who knows, not just someone who guesses. And perhaps, that's exactly what makes this book so important. Because if truth still matters, then Our Endangered Values should be required reading in every political science, ethics, and international relations class. So to those who say speaking truth is anti-American, I say, Jimmy Carter beat you to it. And he did it with more grace, more authority, and more moral clarity than most of us could ever muster. If you want to understand why the world feels off, if you've ever questioned why the rich keep getting richer, while the poor are gasping for air, and if you still believe in a world where human rights should apply to everyone, regardless of race, religion, or zip code, then read this book. And remember, sometimes the most patriotic thing you can do is tell the truth. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you're interested in diving deeper into this book, I've left some links down in the description. You can use it to grab yourself a copy and keep the adventure going. And if you're in the mood for more great reads, don't go just yet. Click on one of the videos popping up right now that I think you'll love. And don't forget to give this review a like, leave a comment, or even subscribe if you'd like to see more. Every bit of support helps us grow this little community of book lovers. See you in the next one.